So hello Internet and hello everyone. So this is the IPython and Jupyter Dev meeting for March 8, 2016. We have already 11 people here. So let's go. Let's see what's happened last week. Not much for me. I'm mostly organizing the dev meeting here in Berkeley at the end of March. A lot of small detail to put in place. And I've been working with Anna and Kathy on the newsletter. It's starting to take shape. We might need some beta tester to receive the first mail, see how it looks like, and if it's not broken on some devices. So if people from the Jupyter community or from internet in general want to be beta testers, send us your email like on a private channel, and we can try to subscribe you, and you will receive probably something current of this week or next week. And that's about it for me. For what is worth mentioning, the next person is Jess.
Hi everyone. So I was at SIGC last week, which is a computer science and education conference, and I presented a demo on MBGrader. I think the demo went pretty well. It wasn't like a full talk, so there wasn't even as many chairs as are available in a full talk, so I don't think as many people saw it as maybe I would have liked, but I think it went well regardless. I set up a binder demo of MBGrader so people can test out in their browser, so if you ever have anyone who's interested in it, you can point them there. They don't have to install anything to test it out. Some comments on stuff from the conference. Most of the people that I talked to hadn't heard of IPython, let alone Jupyter. The people who had heard of IPython mostly hadn't heard of Jupyter. There was like a handful of people who knew what Jupyter was, but so I think, at least among that community, we're still pretty unknown. Doug Blank was also there. He was on a panel that I missed, so I didn't actually get to see that, but he talked about Jupyter, and he said that people seemed pretty interested in it, which is cool. While I was there, I also took the opportunity with some of my downtime to catch up on the backlog of MBGrader issues that I had. So I've done most of the ones that I wanted to for the next release, which is 0.3.0, and hopefully I will get that released in the near future, maybe this week, we'll see. Yeah, so that's about it for me.
Okay, so on the operations side of things, most of last week was concentrated on Jupyter Days Boston, which is next week, and we're up to 90 attendees. If we kind of stick with Sofia's attrition rate for the Chicago event, about 20% of the paid attendees won't show up. So I'm going to keep pushing on registration. So we'll keep promoting that ticket sales this week. We'll probably close them out on Monday, just so we're able to estimate. We're not going to sell tickets on site just because of food quantity and concerns. And not wanting an influx of people who register kind of at the last minute. So also we'll be working on Sofia on setting up a guide to organizing those events. I think for this time around, one thing that I'm learning as I go along is the amount of work that this event has kind of taken away from operations and other marketing projects is probably a little higher than I want it to be. So working on kind of setting up more clear expectations, hopefully for the next series of events. We do have interest from Sofia, what's Tim's last name?
Tim Had.
Interested in hosting. So he's interested in hosting an event at CERN, and then actually never heard back from the person in Hawaii. Who was the other person, Sofia, who emailed you?
Oh, I forget their name, but we can touch base with them. It needs to happen in Hawaii.
That'd be great. Yeah, I haven't heard back from them either, but that's probably a good thing, considering we probably needed a little bit of regroup time after Boston to set up more of a process and procedure for those events. Also, as Matthias mentioned, we're working on launching the newsletter. It should drop on Wednesday, and I'm behind on creating the events calendar for the Jupyter kind of conferences that everybody's attending, but I definitely don't want that to fall off the list. I think it would be a great thing to have. I'm just working on thinking through what the best way is for us to gather that information. And that's pretty much it for me.
Chris cannot talk apparently, but he's here. So.
Hi. So this past week, I've just been continuing on the work on IPyWidgets that Dave and I both talked about last week. Basically, we're going through widget by widget and removing all of the uses of jQuery and also Bootstrap. There's a couple cases where we're leaving them in because they're bigger stories, like things that use jQuery UI. So the sliders we're leaving alone for now. Either today or tomorrow, we'll be looking at the Bootstrap dropdown to see if that's replaceable or if we have to leave that in for the time being. But it's nearly to the point where we can close out that PR and start. Actually, we've responded to the feedback that's been coming in, but actually take a more critical look at it and try to close it. I posted a link to the currently renderable widgets inside the Phosphor wrapper, just as a demonstration of these things showing up in a totally different environment. But it's a little bit different than what you'll see inside the notebook because they have a minimal theme being applied to them that is not Bootstrap. It's just plain CSS, and it is basically the skeleton for what we could put in inside IPyWidgets once we've pulled out Bootstrap and still have styling on these things that's much more minimal and much more semantically related to what each widget does instead of using Bootstrap's specific names. But yeah, that's it for me. And I think Dave can pretty much fill out the rest of that because he's been doing a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah, like Darren said, we've been working on this together, so I'll make this one quick because he's kind of said it all. I guess the only thing I'd say is so Darren's been kind of taking it from the like Phosphor wrapped widgets point of view. I've been testing it in the notebook. From the notebook point of view, there's a couple of widgets which still have minor rendering things which we're looking at. Darren's looking at toggle buttons. I'm looking at selection slider. As soon as those are done, then yeah, I agree. I think we should clean this PR up and get it in because it's becoming a bit of a monster at the moment. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I think I'm next. I'm not sure Gino dialed in. So Justin Tyberg and I finished our analysis of the UX survey results. There's a PR open against Jupyter Design. I marked it work in progress because anyone wants to have a look. We appreciate your feedback if you've made any glaring mistakes. But there's a nice little executive summary there that kind of rolls up what the users ask for, what their hindrances are, what problems they encounter in the notebook experience, what features they'd like to see, and so on. Kernel Gateway graduated for Incubator. Thank you to everyone that helped us with that. And Carol, thank you very much over the last 48 hours for creating all the docs for us. So that was awesome. Gino, are you here? The rest of the status here, I think, is Gino's.
Yeah, sorry, I'm on. I was trying to find the window. Let's see. The R work to port declarative widgets to R continues. I want to give a thanks to Sylvan for a heads up on COM info messages. That's now part of the PR. So it should now that PR we put for the R kernel should have all COM related features in it. We're already using it as part of a branch we have in declarative widgets, and we made some good progress. We have support for sending data through our channel mechanism, sending data frames across, and we're working on function, which is the main one that one of the main cross browser to kernel features for invoking functions on the kernel, and that should be we're making progress there. There's some work going on for declarative widgets to make sure that we work outside of Jupyter, all that goodness around npm and using all the related Jupyter Splat services. We're actually started working on changing the way that we initialize declarative widgets on a notebook right now. And since we created the project, when you install the declarative widgets extension, basically every notebook page has declarative widgets enabled, and that might be a little bit too heavy-handed for notebook pages that do not require to use declarative widgets. So we're making a shift to have the user explicitly import a module and call init widgets, and that basically starts the whole initialization process. So unless you write that little bit of kernel code before you start a page, the widgets will not be enabled. The declarative widgets won't be enabled on the page. And I think that's a better way of initializing, not a heavy-handed way of always being there when you don't need them. And that's pretty much it. Doing some other stuff around Docker stacks for Apache Tori, making sure that the right versions are getting installed, etc. But that's pretty much my update.
Okay, I think I'm next. Apologies for any background noise. Spent most of last week working on the raw button extension, which is based off of the new extensions PR that John's been working on. He helped me out a little bit with that. And helping out a little bit with Jupyter Day Boston and refining my presentation for Jupyter Day Boston, which is next week. And that's pretty much it for me. I think Carol is next.
Hi, everybody. John and I spent a bunch of time last week coming up with some pretty cool themes for making IPyWidgets interactive on the documentation. Also did a bunch of work on the kernel gateway docs, and congrats to that project for being promoted out of the incubator. And we had a visit from Mike, who was actually very helpful with some suggestions for IPyWidgets docs, and spent a bunch of time tracking down some of the stalling things for Travis, and thanks to Min for getting it all pulled together neatly. One thing I wanted to mention was the CFP for Grace Hopper is currently open through the end of the month. If anybody has students that are in academics and want to submit a poster or want to submit a poster themselves, that would probably be great, because it's a lot of exposure to people, as well as we should maybe do some discussion whether it makes sense to do a workshop or a panel submission about using Project Jupyter and Jupyter Hub in education and MB Grader. So Jess, if you could send your thoughts to me later, Sofia, that would be great. Thanks.
Guess I'm next. I've been working on Jupyter.js notebook, added LaTeX handling, rendering some cell interaction semantics to match the current notebook, theming the cell toolbar redesign that Cameron had posted in design repo is now at least there. It's not fully functional yet. I'm working on that now. So going forward is rounding out the toolbar, adding more cell semantics, trying to get up to parity with the current notebook. And that's it. I think Min's next.
Yep, I've been doing lots of Jupyter Hub related things, a few releases, Jupyter Hub Jupyter Core, Jupyter Client all have shipped in the last week or so. NB-convert should be pretty much ready. I think we just need to do some cleaning up, and there's 1 or 2 PRs whose resolution is unclear, but I think we should be able to get an NB-convert release out this week if we do a little bit of effort on that. And I think that's overdue because there are a lot of fixes that are bothering people that have been in master for several months now. I was in Trondheim at NTNU last week talking about programming and teaching engineering stuff, and I was telling people about NBViewer and Jupyter Hub and notebooks in general, and that was cool. One of the things I learned there was about this NumFizz website, which is cool notebook resources for computational physics. And I've been talking to a few people on various channels about the NumFizz folks contributing to the newsletter. Once we've figured out how to get external people contributing to that, I will point them to whatever it is that we have set up for that. I also spent some work working on the diffing and merging stuff, where I have a plugin for Git that will call the NBDime diffing on notebooks in the command line. We're going to work on kind of web rendering of notebook diffs shortly, after talking to some folks about how to build diff rendering on top of Jupyter.js Notebook. And I'm heading to Amsterdam this weekend with Thomas to talk about using Jupyter without Python, or not without Python, but Jupyter with non-Python kernels and stuff. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was the SciPy call for proposals is open and due near the end of this month. So we should figure out who we're sending to SciPy and what talks and tutorials we want to propose, because those are due in a couple of weeks. And that's all I can remember from the last week. Kyle?
Min,
Yeah.
I was going to interject on the tutorial thing. Last week I mentioned I was submitting one called Jupyter Notebooks and Beyond. That's just half building kernels, half building extensions with the new PR we have coming in.
Great. Yeah. I think we should probably coordinate, all the various Jupyter-related proposals and talks and things we want to submit somewhere.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah.
Do we have Kyle?
Sorry I interrupted you, Kyle.
I'm working on a tutorial with Dash. It's the same tutorial we gave a couple weeks ago for some Rackspace folks, but we're giving it Jupyter Day Boston on Jupyter Hub on Arena and just generally Jupyter Hub on Swarm. And I wore a fitting shirt for it today. And I'm dealing with some other networking things with Swarm and Temp4Me right now. Just trying to figure some stuff out. So, yep.
Jzone, are you there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just continued working with Steve, trying to review the fire hose of code that he spews out, he and his 4 clones or whoever is working on it, as well as Dave and Darian, the Jupyter.js notebook stuff, and conversations with various people about path forward. And I'll be sending out an email listing out, I want to get a good list of what comprises the current notebook, so we understand exactly what we're trying to re-implement to get feature parity. So things like multi-cell selection, search and replace, etc. So I'll send this list out, and if it doesn't work over email, then maybe we can all have a chat about what should be exactly considered feature parity with the current notebook. Sylvan, I think you're next.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. So I worked a bit on I made a few maintenance PRs on IPyWidgets. I mostly worked on the Python side of things for once, and removed a lot of code. Thanks to the new Threadlets API, there were about 300 lines of code removed on the Python side. And so I have a couple of PRs in Threadlets. So one that just got merged with a quick fix in whole thread notifications. and there is an upcoming fix in union trait. So on IPython, I just opened the PR with a quick hack, but I'm going to polish that on fixifying the doc strings in the pager. And also, I'm looking into IPyKernel to make the help links configurable. That's it.
Okay, I think we got everyone. Does someone wants to speak now? No? So thank you everyone for this weekly recap. See you on the internet. We can think on various channels. And don't forget to tell us if you want to be a beta tester of the newsletter. See you at Jupyter Day in Amsterdam and in all the various locations. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.